Welcome everyone to Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast, episode probably around 7, I think, is it, George?
Seven. Yeah,
7,
seven
yeah.
indeed.
I am Chris Dredd and this is my main man, Jordan JB. How you doing, big man? All right?
What's going on?
Yeah, man, cool. It's quite hot today. It's quite hot. It
Yeah,
feels like
muggy.
summer. Feels like summer.
I can feel the
Sizzly.
heat.
So, welcome to everyone to another episode of Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast. I mean, the last episode, the numbers we got on that was absolutely overwhelming, and I don't know if it was where we posted it in different places and we got a bit more of a response, but it is our most viewed video to date, and we thank every single
Incredible.
person that watched it, listened to it. Fantastic, isn't it, Jay? Like,
It was an amazing response to a show that we expected a certain number and it was more than doubled. And yeah, we got nothing but gratitude for everyone that watched it, everyone that listened to it, and we thank you.
we do thank you lots and lots. We got loads of views on YouTube. That is where we post all our videos and where you are probably or maybe watching this right now. We are also on a variety of other platforms, podcast platforms. We're on, here we go, reel off the list. We're
Yeah,
on Podbean, Spotify, Deezer, Castbox, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Listen Notes, and TuneIn Radio. We're on now. So we're also on Instagram and Twitter at Chat Grapple Pops. Jordan hits up the Twitter hard. I'm still slacking on that one. We're just happy to be back with another episode. And what is the event we are covering today, bruv?
We're diving back into the World Wrestling Federation, and we are at SummerSlam 1990.
SummerSlam
When this
19.
first aired, I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I was about 8. I was about
So
7 or 8 when this was on.
I have no memories of watching it live or anything like that. I have seen it before. Watching it back again, mixed memories, I think.
It's a weird one. I think when you watch it when you're younger, and this era of wrestling was a lot different to what we're watching now. It was very, very much character based. It was very much storyline orientated, and not necessarily the ring work didn't always match up with it. The matches weren't always that long. I mean, we'll see there was a shed load of matches in this event, 3 hours long, and the longest match was probably 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, nothing went long. Nothing went more than maybe 12 minutes, maybe 15. I mean, I watched it on the network again. That's our thing. Everyone that knows that. Chris watched it on something else.
The VHS, baby, as always. Watched it on the
Yeah.
VHS, which came with the double-sided collectible commemorative poster as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, baby, trust me. And the advert at the beginning of this was saying, and all you guys who watch videos and that will know that sometimes it came with little pin badges, sometimes it came with posters, sometimes it came with bloody bandanas, little like 3D holographic things. So yeah, VHS will probably be me watching it all the time. JB's on the network. I'm also on the network, but I always like to watch the Coliseum video or Silver Vision.
Well, that's it. We tend to every now and again we get some Coliseum video exclusives that
Indeed.
The network just doesn't give us. No countdown show that we could find, but there was SummerSlam Fever, which was a USA Network special, which was in place of prime time that week, and it was a weird little show that was.
It was quite long. What was it, like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something?
Nearly 2 hours. Yeah, I caught it on YouTube.
Yep.
And it was a strange show. We won't go too far into this one because it's, like I said, it's a prime time episode. It's nothing of great sort of note, but
It was like
you
it was
watched.
setting them up though, George, wasn't it?
It was very much a lead in, yeah.
It was definitely, they used to do this a hell of a lot because everything was all storyline based basically, and they were just pushing what they wanted to get in before this event. So it was,
Yeah.
just basically setting the scene.
Quick notes for me, Sherry, Sensational Queen Sherry, her promo on this show was absolute fire.
She looks brilliant as well.
Yeah.
What we're talking about this SummerSlam Fever show.
Yeah, SummerSlam Fever.
When she was painted as a cat, when she had,
yeah.
I mean, her face paint in SummerSlam '90 is amazing, and her costumes and everything. She looks $1,000,000, and she always looks $1,000,000. We love Sherry on this show. Love her.
Anyone's looking like how to cut a promo or anything like that, just watch some Sensational Sherry. She absolutely got it. She knew how to get everything over in the time she had, and we'll get to Sherry a little bit later on as well in the show. It's absurd how over Hogan is.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely incredible how one man can be that over with an audience. You just don't see it, or I don't see it now anyway.
You don't really see it now. He was just, I don't know if it was the height of the time. It was 1990. We're seeing a lot of pro-American, pro-military kind of stuff, like patriotism in this event itself as well. But Hogan was American made. You like that little job?
Very good.
So who wrote that, by the way?
Jimmy Hart, was
Jimmy
it?
Hart, dude. You know who also composed the bloody NWO Wolfpack theme? Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy, the Music Man.
Crazy dude. And a lot of the time, that's why they cut music out of some things on the network, because they don't want to pay royalties for certain things.
Well, they've done that with Rick Rude's theme across the network, the whole thing.
Have they really?
Yeah, I'm not really
even in this event?
Yeah, even in this one, they've dubbed it over with some weird sort of stripper song.
And this is why people, when your mum says, when you was a kid and you used to say to your mum, "Oh, the ice cream man's here. Can we go and get an ice cream?" She's go, "No, we've got choc ices in the fridge." When I say, "Oh, people don't get the network. You got the network at home. Here we go, videos." Fucking cutting out music.
Yeah.
How can you cut out the music and then have him say, "Cut the music"? Jesus.
Yeah, it's well, they do dub over some music, but it's a cheap knockoff.
Oh.
And when they dub it over, you can't really hear Vince and Piper in the show, which is even more annoying.
Right.
Back to SummerSlam Fever. Bobby Heenan ripping into the Boss Man's mother.
Oh, yeah, and then Vince goes, "What has she ever done to you?" And he's like, "Sometimes some people are here just to entertain people." And it's like, they're just ugly. She'd want to ride in the trunk.
I have a bit of a controversial one, and I'm just going to say it quickly. Shane Douglas against the Orient Express in a jobber role. Nice to see him staying in his lane.
Yeah.
Shane. I can't help it.
You're not a Shane Douglas franchise fan.
No, never have, never will.
Well, he's got a very good couple of shoot interviews as well, people, by the way, on the Hannibal TV. Just to
who's he shooting on? Why is he shooting on anyone?
He was shooting on the Click, giving a little insight into the story.
That's why he didn't get over. It was the Click's fault.
Well, no, he was talking about Jack, the Quebecer.
Dean Douglas.
Dean Douglas. Did you not even like him in ECW, no?
No.
Oh, fuck, man.
He's probably the worst world champion I've ever seen, and we've lived through Jeff Jarrett years.
We've had Jarrett.
Paul Romer's dropkick, sweet Jesus.
Yep.
He wipes out that guy in that. in the SummerSlam Fever show.
This is available on YouTube, guys, as well.
YouTube, yeah.
What's it called? Just SummerSlam 1990, SummerSlam Fever or
SummerSlam
something.
Fever, yeah, 1990. Yeah.
So check it out. It's really entertaining. It's a really good watch.
Thank you to whoever posted that, because that was good fun.
Yeah, it's good.
And now the World Wrestling Federation presents a double main event.
Indeed.
Vince is screaming and shouting, brought it all back to you. It is the Heat returns, SummerSlam 90. We're in the Spectrum in Philadelphia, famous for its Rocky filming, I guess, and
Apollo
stuff.
Creed.
Yeah, Rocky 1. And yeah, we're at the Spectrum in Philly, and it's a big crowd. It's clearly a hot crowd. In our commentary booth tonight, we have a very strange duo. It is Vince and Roddy Piper. Fans love Piper. I get it. You know, everyone loves Piper, but he's not the guy for commentary.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Big chance though for Roddy at the beginning.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of Vinnie Mac on commentary. He did get slightly annoying with the 1, 2, 3. No, he didn't get it. You know, he always used to do that. You know, but I mean, he used to hype it up really well. He used to gas things up. You know, his voice was just definitely like you know, your classic radio voice.
Yeah.
Enjoyed Vince on commentary.
This is a pop crazy show. There are pops everywhere, huge ones. I mean, none bigger than one that comes later on, but the first one is for the Rockers, who
Big
are
pop.
match number 1. Rockers against Power and Glory with the good Reverend Slick. He's not the Reverend yet though.
No, he's the thingy of style.
The Doctor of Style.
Doctor of Style. Can I just say as well, in the intro where we've got Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper, Roddy Piper, the first words that he says is, we're here in Philadelphia where bagpipes are hot and Baghdad's not.
Yeah.
There's a few dodgy things that Piper says in this pay-per-view, where some people hold the view that Piper wasn't possibly as PC as he could have been, and he some people say he could have been a racist, or he could have, you know, and certain things slip out. And I mean, I watched what was I watching? I think it was a shoot interview actually, or one with loads of different clips from Bad News Brown. But it started off, I watched one clip when he was talking about when Andre the Giant shat on him during a match. But then there was loads of other clips, and there was bits talking about the Roddy Piper when he blacked himself up half of his face on, was it WrestleMania 6?
3?
Was it WrestleMania 3?
I can't remember now.
It was one of the WrestleMania. Yeah, it was a WrestleMania, and basically that was. I mean, I also saw a clip of Piper admitting that it was his idea to black up, because they went into the meeting and he said, oh, you know, we're going to do this thing. And it was like, you know, Cyndi Lauper, True Colors had come out, and then you had this. And he said, I'm going to paint myself half black. And Vince McMahon reportedly said, I love you, to the idea of that.
Oh, and for those that are listening to this, I just hung my head.
He hung his head. You know, it was like, and Bad News Brown, they asked him, you know, is this okay? And he was like, do you know what? Yeah, whatever. He said, you know, I'm not going to be the one. He said, but some brother somewhere is going to get hold of him and kick the shit out of him. He said, it won't be me, but some brother is going to take that one way and kick the shit out of him one day. He said, whatever, man, do whatever you want. You know.
Well, we should remind ourselves it is 1990. There are things that are acceptable then that aren't acceptable now.
Well, they were never acceptable, Jordan, but they were just they were accepted. They were never acceptable.
They were accepted on a show in 1990, which is, you know, Vince is in charge of. And I mean, like I said, a lot of the stuff that Roddy Piper does, I haven't noted it down because I didn't want to repeat it. That was more for me than.
Well, whereas I have noted it down and I shall repeat it not because it's funny, but just because, we've got to keep that in perspective, especially, but, this was shaping kids' minds, dude, of the time, and, 1990, 30 years ago, it fucking hell, 30 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but 30 years ago is 30 years ago. And at this point, they'd had a black tag team champion.
That was it, yeah.
And that was it. They hadn't had a black heavyweight champion. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who they could have had. I mean, maybe Butch Reed. At one point.
I mean, they're not putting any titles on Coke everywhere, are they?
No.
Virgil.
But mate, it's no.
There's just.
So maybe not because they didn't have the talent there. They had a black tag team champion, which was
Dog was there for a while.
JYD was there. He could have had a title run, wouldn't he? I mean, carrying the belt alongside all the chains was probably quite heavy to put in his bag. But could have had JYD. But yeah, it was a different time, as Jordan was saying, basically. So some things that get said in this, they're not acceptable now. They probably weren't acceptable then, but they were accepted because it was a time where fucking, shit was said that shouldn't have been. So anyway, we shall move on.
We'll start. We get to the Rockers against Power and Glory, and Hercules straight away goes after Michaels long before HBK.
Yep.
Goes after him with the chain.
On the knees.
Yeah, batters him with the chain on his knee. We get something between world class and ludicrous on a cell job from Michaels for this. Something that only gets worse as the match goes on. Piper says perhaps they've been dating too many young girls.
Yeah, because they were looking sluggish. Yeah.
Yeah. He did not seem intent on putting the Rockers over. He was there to put over Power and Glory. And that was it.
Yeah.
Again, because they're not long matches, there's not a lot of notes on them. So, things will move a little bit quickly with these matches. I noticed Jannetty sandbagging Hercules.
Yeah, on a couple of them as well, yeah.
Hercules not being bothered in the slightest. If Jannetty didn't want to go up, Hercules was picking him up anyway.
It's crazy though, because like you're saying, the ridiculousness of Michaels selling his knee was fucking unbelievable. I don't know whether he was doing that to show. I mean, Michaels is known for overselling as a rib, inverted commas. But if you're gonna rib people, don't fucking rib them in the ring when you've got like thousands of people watching and millions on TV.
For my own reference, I did check it. There was no real injury to Michaels. They do work later on down the line, like they carry on working in, like they do have a title match in like October or something with the Heart.
I don't understand, because he didn't play it. Why would he do that? But maybe I mean, I can't imagine that Michaels. It's been known that Michaels is a jerk at sometimes and says he don't want to work with these people or do this or do that or do the other and don't want to put people over or whatever. But I don't think at this point they had that much stroke. I can't imagine.
I think they'd already been fired once.
They had already been fired once. And, I can't imagine. The only thing, I mean, why didn't he get involved in the match? Was that the whole angle? Like, I mean, it's a bit shit for a first match of a pay-per-view, of a SummerSlam. It was terrible, really. I mean, they could have. The Rockers were great workers, and they could have had a really good match against the Power and the Glory. I don't understand why this was chosen as an angle, apart from maybe Michaels was like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not working with these two, and did it himself.
Which makes me believe that Michaels, as part of the team, I think Jannetty was probably fine to work it. Michaels might not have been, but there's a bit of disrespect, and Power and Glory clearly feel that, because it's a nice superplex from Hercules and a splash from Roma, and Roma decides to just stick the boot on the chest for the pin.
Yeah, great
Like
stuff.
that's,
Yeah,
I mean, that is, yeah.
that's the ultimate fuck you, innit?
And something I noticed as well, and this is, I mean, this you don't really see this until way down low when John Cena's around. You can hear the male sort of group in the crowd cheering for Power and Glory.
Yeah, they were whooping, hooting, and hollering.
Yeah,
Where you could see it, you could physically see it when Power and Glory were laying into the rockers.
and yeah, it was a you know, something to push the Power and Glory on. I honestly thought that rockers would be taken off TV after this, but they weren't. So who knows what was going on in the minds. Power and Glory continue the beat down, and then we get to the most ridiculous part of Shawn Michaels is selling. There's a stretcher being brought down for him. He's rolling around and squealing and all sorts, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous selling. It's well, it's not selling. It's overacting. It wasn't needed.
It's a bit shit.
Yeah, it's shit. It's rubbish. You know, and we've seen Michaels oversell before. We've seen him in the ring with Hulk Hogan. We've seen, you know, when he was doing the ridiculous bumps off the corners, taking the headshots and flying back and that. We've seen him do.
It's funny because we've seen him pull off absolutely world-class sell jobs.
Oh yeah.
Like the one against Owen Hart on Raw, where he takes the Inzaguri, like in like mid-90s, is amazing. And then we've got this. It's like, oh, okay.
But that's what makes me think even more that Shawn Michaels isn't, or maybe he isn't now, but he was an absolute fucking prick at times, because you know,
have to listen to the interviews. Yeah,
I mean, what a fucking jerk sometimes, man. Fucking go out there, do your business, and the fact is, Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest workers to ever work in the business. That's never in any doubt, because some of the matches he's had have been absolutely incredible. But he has been a fucking world-class jerk as well. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, did you really need to be that much of a prick?
It didn't do it for me. It was laughable, and like sort of that was it. There was no concern, and I'm sure people noticed that. We in one of many cutaways to an interviewer, and this is something that will get on our sort of, you know, get on our nerves towards like the middle and end of the show. We cut to Sean Mooney. Nothing against Sean Mooney. With Mr. Perfect and Bobby Heenan, first appearance of Bobby Heenan for the night. And yeah, there's not a lot to say. Perfect mentions how he's absolutely perfect. Heenan talked about Texas tornadoes in general.
Yeah.
And
he said, what did he say? All they do is kick up.
You've seen them all.
Yeah, you've seen them one, you've seen them all. All they do is just kick up a little bit of dust up and down the panhandle. That's it. Yeah. You know. And they say he's the perfect manager as well. They say, and he is the perfect manager. And anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Yeah, you can at us on Twitter, but we'll just disagree with you anyway.
Yeah, because Heenan is God.
Yeah, they end it with nobody beats Mr. Perfect, nobody, and then it's we cut to Piper again, and I've got under here just straight away, just Piper isn't that funny.
He's not that funny, no.
Again, nothing against Piper because he is a legend, an icon, all that stuff, but him on commentary just does not work. And we'll move on. We also have an interview with Mean Gene and the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. It's a weird one because, I don't know, to you, Kerry looks a little strung out.
Kerry, by this time, he had been wrestling for 4 years with 1 foot.
Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know the story of the Texas Tornado, aka Kerry Von Erich, he comes from a family, a troubled family, where, you know, something like, how many brothers were there in the Von Erichs? 6?
5, I think. 5 or 6. Yeah.
And out of all of them, 4 of them committed suicide, and the dad committed suicide as well. Correct?
I'm not sure about Fritz.
I think he might have done. And
Kevin is still alive. Yeah.
Kevin is the only one that didn't. And Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, in 1986 had a motorcycle accident and damaged his foot so badly that it had to be amputated. But he didn't think to tell anybody that he'd had his foot amputated and just carried on wrestling with one foot. I mean,
which is incredible in its own feat. I mean, it's like,
in his own feet. Ah, you see what he did there. So it is a feat in itself.
yeah,
You know, but it's one of these things where Texas Tornado, he always had those kind of, in wrestling they like to call them demons, inverted commas. You know, he always had those demons. You know, he had the family issues. You know, he had the drug issues. He was in and out of jail at certain times, or at least being arrested on drugs charges. And the fact is, he was about to go to jail on drugs possession charges before he killed himself, and he was literally just about to go to court. Sorry, I keep drinking me tea. We're English, we drink tea, and I'm sipping it too much today, but I'm thirsty.
I don't really drink a lot of tea. I drink stuff like this.
I drink enough for both of us. It's fine, bro.
Kerry,
I mean,
he looks a little strung out.
Yeah, so by this time he was probably quite strung out. I mean, if you're going to be wrestling with one foot, it's going to be painful. It's going to be awkward. And when you know and you watch him work, you can see him favour one leg more so, only slightly, and he seems to drag one.
You notice it.
You notice it, but no one knew, dude, did they? No one knew back then, and literally until someone had a spot where they were trying to pull him back in the ring.
Someone pulled it off, yeah.
And someone pulled his fucking shoe off, and they're like, he's got one foot. Jesus.
He's got a stump, yeah.
Yeah. So
they denied that like crazy. They did. Yeah, nobody bumps like Mr. Perfect, do they?
No, he basically put Kerry over. In this, Kerry didn't do nothing in this match.
Not really, no.
He didn't do nothing. It was all Mr. Perfect. It was all
does
headache.
everything.
Yeah. And, you know, even Heenan, you know, where they had the bits at the beginning of the match where you'd have the Texas Tornado slapping, you know, Perfect about, whacking him, and he slides out the ring. You had Heenan saying to him, don't worry, he's got to beat you. You're the champ. He's got to beat you. You know, you haven't got to beat him. You know, take your time, calm down. You know, and he'd pat him down with a towel. You know, great stuff. I mean, Perfect and Heenan.
I can hear cheers for Perfect as well in this.
Brilliant.
Again, like this.
Of course.
You know, there's clearly a fan base in that arena that Vince didn't want there, and they're cheering for some of the bad guys, which I always think is hilarious. And again, it's a short match. There's nothing to it.
The finish was dog shit, man. It was
Texas Tornado no sells, some slaps in the corner, puts Perfect in the iron claw or whatever it is. You know, they want to call it the claw.
It was the Von Erich claw, wasn't it?
Yeah, which I mean didn't really evoke much of a reaction, but the whirlwind punch or the tornado punch or whatever you want to call it. Perfect again sells it like an absolute champ because he knows he's got to put it over.
Yeah,
and we get a free count. And I mean the pop for the 1, 2, 3 was massive too.
Oh, I mean Kerry Von Erich.
I don't think people were expecting it.
No, he looks $1 million. If you were to look at Kerry Von Erich, he looked like your 90s wrestler. He was fucking ripped. He had the long hair. You know, he looked the absolute business. You can't be a wrestler in the 90s and be a face and not have tassels on your boots. And he had fucking tassels on his boots. You know?
Plenty of tassels.
Plenty of tassels, mate. The amount of tassels is how much of a face you are. And he had fucking loads. And the way they set up before the claw, though, because in the post-match interview with Mr. Perfect, he sells it, was where Kerry Von Erich gets him in a slingshots him into the corner, and he says that he hits his head on the post. Yeah. And that's what sent him a bit doolally before the claw and then the punch.
It's not a great match. It's one of the better ones on the show.
It wasn't too bad, but that was only because the Perfect was in it for me.
Mr. Perfect, Heenan does
and Heenan.
And Bobby Heenan, yeah. We go to Mean Gene, who had planned to talk with Sweet Sapphire.
Indeed.
But at this point, he says she's nowhere to be seen, and Heenan and Perfect just dive into shot, and Heenan is brilliant again. He's complaining, he's whining, he's saying that, you know, there was a 3 count beforehand, the referee can't count to 3. Mean Gene tells him not to cry, and Bobby threatens him.
Yeah, he calls him like a bald little squirt or something.
Yeah. And yeah, Heenan is just, he's so mad at this point.
Heenan always did everything as if it was real, and if he always sold everything, you know, and he was like, like he was so agitated, and it was like, you know, can you calm down, Bobby Heenan? You know, it was like he just sold it. It was absolutely great, and you know, that interview was absolutely fantastic, really good, and they keep saying, you know, oh no, we need to bring that title back to the family. We need to bring it back to the family, the Heenan family.
Which, I mean, it wasn't a big family at that point, was it?
No, I mean, you had Ravishing Rick Rude, you had Mr. Perfect, and
maybe
I can't.
Haku.
And Haku, yeah.
Yeah. Andre had turned by this point, and yeah, I think that was it. Maybe the Barbarian.
Yes. Yes.
We cut to our next match, which is Sensational Queen Sherry against Sweet Sapphire.
Sorry, dude. I find it really hard to say Sweet Sapphire without saying Sweet Sapphire. You know,
without doing a Dusty.
Gotta do a Dusty.
Sapphire's nowhere to be seen, and there's a little bit of confusion there in the ring. And then our man from the back, Rene Goulet, with the. I always struggled to remember who that was I always wondered who it was when I was a kid, and I finally looked it up, and it was the geezer with the blonde hair and the earpiece.
Yeah.
Rene Goulet comes out to tell Howard Finkel they can't find her, and they give her 30 seconds to come to the ring. They play the music again, and Sherry wins by forfeit.
And just gotta say, Sherry looked absolutely $1,000,000 in this. She comes out, she's got her face painted like a cat, a weird kind of cat creature again. Yeah, and she's got like a butterfly kind of eye mask thing on. You know, she just looks the fucking business, man. And Sherry Martel, you know, she when they're doing the countdown, it starts at 10 and they start counting down. She grabs the mic. She starts doing she is just phenomenal the way she sells it. And she's like, put my hands up. I'm the winner kind of thing. You know, it's heel class 101.
It was probably better than that there wasn't a match, because I'm not sure. I don't think Sapphire was a worker in any way.
Sapphire is not a worker. I mean, she couldn't even fucking dance, let alone work. And I know all you lot watching and everyone, you know, you've seen Sweet Sapphire and Dusty Rhodes dancing, and they can't dance for shit. And
I'm also pretty sure Dave Meltzer gave this 2 stars. So.
What, the dancing or the match?
The match. We've got Mean Gene again. This keeps happening. This will happen all night long. They keep cutting away back to our.
Sorry, dude. Yeah, sorry, dude.
You've got a Coliseum video exclusive, haven't you?
No, I haven't got a Coliseum exclusive, but it's just a couple of things that Roddy said when they were waiting for Sapphire to come out. One of them was, someone needs to give Sapphire a tap on the bum and see if that gets her out here. Did you catch that one?
Yeah.
And also says maybe she's making pancakes back there. And I think that's an Aunt Jemima reference. So, you know, it's one of them ones where you've got to mention these things, but fucking hell, what a crazy time this was. You know, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, and he whenever the camera cuts to him, he does that once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dusty with Mean Gene, and Dusty has looked in every nook and cranny.
Every nook and cranny.
And I just got to hear them. Dusty is an incredible promo.
And he's got another great promo at the end as well. When the get tough, daddy. When you gonna get tough, daddy?
And
Great promo.
I mean, it's been 5 years since Dusty passed away, and where's that time gone?
Fucking crazy, man. Crazy.
I mean, Dusty even asks Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who wanders into shop, like, has he seen her? And like, you know,
No, we're still looking. We haven't found her. We're still looking. That was like the most cheesiest part of the promo.
You know, for context, Sapphire had been receiving gifts from an anonymous donor.
Yeah.
But that ain't any of Dusty's business.
That ain't none of Dusty's business. She's happy. She's happy. Yeah. It was just, you know,
She's given all sorts of gifts. She'd been given cash and a mink coat or something.
And she'd been given a mink coat. She'd been given diamond rings, Cadillac, a trip around the world. You know, but that ain't Dusty's business. You know, they were selling it like, yeah, obviously she's now disappeared. No one knows where she is, but she'd been receiving all these lavish gifts. And yeah.
We get to our next match. The Warlord. Holy shit. This guy is fucking huge.
Huge.
And that ICO Pro, baby, that stuff must work.
Oh, yeah.
He must be drinking it by the barrelful. Against Tito Santana before he was a Matador. And we get a nice big Arriba from Vince.
We do.
Chuckle.
But then we also get Roddy saying, I was going to call him a taco vendor or a bean eater.
Yeah.
It's just, he can't help himself. He can't help himself.
And that was, yeah. He really couldn't help himself. Vince says that the Warlord's big all over. I'm not sure what that means.
And then Roddy goes, "Oh, is that so? Is that right?"
Santana goes out to the floor. For some reason, Slick takes his shoe off. It looks like he's going to hit him with his shoe. Piper says something about it's not hitting him with his shoe. It's chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince at this point, says that the Warlord's methodical. I say it looks like he's moving through treacle. He's so slow.
He doesn't lay anything in either, which I noticed. It doesn't lay anything in solid. Even when Tito's lying on the floor and he's doing the stamps on his back, they look light and shit. I don't know if Warlord was even a wrestler, you know, if he was a bodybuilder to start with and he's one of these guys that's come in and...
Obviously he gets better because he does have a relatively okay feud with British Bulldog later on down the line, but...
Yeah, it wasn't awful, yeah.
I'm not sure how green he is at this point.
But one thing I noticed as well, dude, this match was basically a squash match.
Yeah, a squash on Tito Santana.
Yeah. It was basically, that's what all I've got is basically a squash match. And it didn't last long.
Tito does hit the flying forearm.
Yep.
But, yeah, Warlord gets his leg on the rope. And then we get a running power slam, which is Davy's finisher later on. And again, yeah, it was a throwaway. It was nothing. I've got a Survivor Series promo next.
Same.
I don't know if you've got that.
Yeah. There's a few Survivor Series promos and adverts and a few WrestleMania 7 adverts all the way through this pay-per-view.
The Thanksgiving night tradition, Survivor Series 90, which would be the debut of one Undertaker. I'm sure we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Obviously, I've got the VHS, so I'll be watching the VHS, and Jordan will be on the network, and we'll see what tinkering they've done with that.
We can complain about,
yeah.
Yeah. Sean Mooney is with Demolition. Not really sure what Smash is doing in this.
He does it all the time. He does this face. Yeah.
Pursing his lips and all that. I'm like, what are you doing, pal?
He does it. Like that, you know. And he would later become another superstar, wouldn't he? After Demolition.
The Repo Man, yeah.
He would become the Repo Man. But yeah, I've got that down here. Smash's face expressions of the he always does it, and he looks a bit camp when he does it. And the fact that they're dressed up like dominatrixes, with the studded pants and the straps around the nipples, it's just really weird. Demolition was always a weird one for me. It was that sadomasochism gimmick, bro. It's S&M. Let's tell it how it is.
The music was cool. I'll give him that.
Well, spank my ass and call me Charlie. It was cool.
Yeah. Axe had developed a heart condition at this point, which necessitated Crush being called up and being part of Demolition. Crush gets into the interview and says that LOD are some second-rate imposters.
Indeed.
And I started laughing my ass off.
Who need their butts kicked.
Yes, they do. They are leading up to their 2 out of 3 full tag team title defense against the Hart Foundation, where only 2 members of Demolition are allowed at ringside, which causes its own problems later on. Mean Gene's with the Hart Foundation, and Brett thought it would be Axe and Smash, which it wasn't. You've got Anvil there, like stroking his beard, like laughing and chuckling at any given minute. Anvil isn't paid to think, he said.
No, that's correct. I've got that written down. Think.
He goes, tough like an anvil.
Yeah, that's right. What do you think, Anvil? Think? They don't pay me to think. They pay me to be tough like an anvil.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it's like, settle down, Anvil. Brett is like, settle down, Anvil. I still remember, just a quick one, out of when you watch Wrestling with Shadows, where you've got where they're doing the promo, and he's like, Brett says to me, I've got something I think you could say. He's like, we're gonna get hungry and forget our manners.
Yeah.
When he says that, he's like, we're gonna, he's got them going through it, and that it's just, every time I see Nidar, I always just think of that promo. We're gonna get hungry and we're gonna forget our manners, and it's just,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
2 hearts beating as one. I'm sure that's a song somewhere, but I can't.
It was. They actually quoted. Yeah, it's they said the artist as well in the promo, but I can't remember who it is either. And we've just watched it.
Yeah, it should have been one of the best matches on the show. Should have been.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out that way. You've got your early technical sort of clinic from Brett, using all this stuff. Yeah. Roddy Piper gets a line in. We ain't looking for dairy products. We fighting. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe it's a Calgary reference to something Canadian.
Yeah, maybe. Incredibly close 2 count, which had the fans like going on their Russian leg sweep. Like they were super close.
What, Demolition?
No, Brett does the Russian leg sweep on one of Demolition, and it's a 2 count, and the fans were right into it. It was really close call.
Because I saw Demolition do a Russian leg sweep on Bret Hart as well, and later on in the match.
Crush gets the first fall after the double team sort of backbreaker elbow from the second rope, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where the match falls apart. We were going so well, and I mean the Hearts win the second fall by DQ.
Yeah, because fucking Crush picks up the referee.
Yeah.
He just literally just picks him up and moves him.
Considering what other people get away with on this show, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know whoever booked that one just needed a bit of a slap, but wasn't good. Even though there's only meant to be 2 members of Demolition at ringside, Axe does make his way down and swaps with Smash. Smash goes under the ring. Piper is playing cheerleader at this point for the Hearts. I know he's got some connections in Canada and that, but he's really into it and going over the top. Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say there was a really nice backward slam where Anvil takes Brett upside down and slams him onto Smash. Really good. just before the swap for Axe happened. Really good.
Vince is trying not to blame the ref, but I've put here but it's Earl fucking Hebner, so whatever. Like, world's worst referee, always has been, always will be.
I've got another little pointer about Hebner in this pay-per-view as well.
Fuck
Another little
Hebner.
point.
We always knew he was dodgy, even back in 1990.
He does something dodgy in this as well. You see him pocket a bit of merchandise live on air. You see it. It's fucking hilarious.
Something Earl would be famed for later on, pocketing merchandise.
Yeah. Literally picks it up and puts it in his pocket.
And with Axe and all that going on, Legion of Doom make their way down. We get an LOD pop.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets a little mad, because Hawk interferes, pushes Crush off the ropes in clear view of Earl fucking Hebner. And there's no DQ or nothing. And you got a slingshot into the ring from Anvil on Crush. Brett rolls him up, and we got new champions.
The ref loses control with this one.
Absolutely loses it.
Fucking Hebner.
Earl Hebner. Yeah.
But I'll tell you one good thing as well about this match. Well, there's a couple of good things. The way that Anvil was protecting Brett at the end and laughing when they win with his maniacal kind of laughter. And also, the Fink has one of the greatest and new tag team champions in this. It's a really good one.
That's that's what we remember the Fink for, the great sort of call at the end of a championship match, you know.
It was a good one. The and new from the Fink in this match was fantastic. One of my favourites.
We got a promo for WrestleMania 7 at the LA Memorial Coliseum, which probably could have held about 90,000 legitimately, but they don't actually hold it there. And that's another story for probably when we watch WrestleMania 7.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter how you get there, just get there was the tagline for it. And it had loads of people in different cars. You had Dusty Rhodes on the back of a fucking rubbish truck. You had $1 Million Man in some 1920s fucking car. You had Ravishing Rick Rude running down the beach. But that was because that was the promos from that SummerSlam spectacular thing. They had a load of Rick Rude promos where he's in the gym and you've got like the Ultimate Warrior painted on like a punch ball, and he's like and you got Bobby Heenan going just punch him, Rick, punch him like, please people watch that just for the Rick Rude promos. Really good.
We've got Mean Gene with the LOD in the back, another cutaway. Like, this just keeps going on. Hawk calls Demolition micro mini men in the big man's world. I'm not sure. Like, what's he taking?
Weird.
And the best part of this interview is when the Hearts turn up. They say they'll take on anyone, not a problem. And Hawk strokes Anvil's beard.
Yeah, dude, I've got that on there as well. He's literally reaches forward and starts like wanking his beard off. To put it no other way.
Very good.
You know, and the Anvil, when he drops, we don't care if it's 2-on-2, 3-on-2, or 10-on-10. It's like, what are you saying, Anvil? What are you saying, Jim? But it was good, and it was finished off with Hawk rubbing the Anvil's beard, which was fantastic stuff.
I mean, how Anvil stayed straight on that, I don't know, because I would have cracked up. I would have been gone.
It's brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And we forget, or people forget, that Anvil goes quite way back. Jim the Anvil, he goes way back to Memphis. You know, he goes way back, way back. You know, he's been in the business, you know, even a while before this point, you know.
Sean Mooney, outside an angry Demolition dressing room, tries to open the door. They slam it shut. We move on. Mean Gene with Sensational Queen Sherry. This is, I mean, it's a good interview. but it's just a bit like she asks if Sapphire is a UFO. That's why they can't find her.
Yeah, because like, oh no, because he says, oh, they've been having plenty of sapphire sightings, and she's like,
Yeah,
sightings? What is she, a UFO? And then she talks about rumors that have been
yeah.
going around.
And if the rumors were true, she'd be the smartest woman in the WWF.
Yeah.
Um, I've got the intermission at this point. Have you got that?
Can I just cover one little thing that Sherry says as well, which is a great end line to this interview?
Yeah.
And they cut it straight after, and it's fucking fantastic. Where they're talking and that, and she's like, Jean says to her something about, oh, so you're what? I can't believe you're disrespecting this missing person. She's like, hold on a minute. I said she was missing. I didn't say anything about her being a person.
Yeah.
And it's just that's when it cuts. And Sherry she looks $1,000,000 in this, man. And she's like doing hysterical laughter and that, and like screeching, and really good promo. Good shit.
Who was better in an interview with Mean Gene? I'm going to ask you this: was it Sherry or was it Woman?
Oh, now you're asking a question there, dude. Because in all of wrestling, okay, in all of the things that I love in wrestling, I don't think there's many more things that I love than seeing Woman doing a promo with Mean Gene Okerlund and him just being just aroused but not wanting to be aroused. Like he loves her but he doesn't want to love her, and she's just trying to. It is just absolute gold. It is absolute gold. We covered a WCW event in one of our previous episodes, Bash at the Beach, and the promo with Woman and Mean Gene Okerlund was absolutely 11 out of 10 stuff.
Yeah.
It was absolute gold. So I would probably say Woman, man, in the later years of WCW. You know, when Ric Flair's saying, if she comes onto you any harder than that, Gene, you're going to be up with us in the hotel room partying tonight. You know? Good shit, man. Good shit.
I had to ask because I know we both like Sherry and Woman like working these interviews.
Fantastic. I mean, two of the greatest women in wrestling of all time, I would say, you know.
Gene tells us we're going to intermission and tells us what's coming up. This is on the network. I don't know if you've got this bit, but he tells us what's coming up next and all that. Like they just run through the second half of the show with the matches.
I don't think I've got that, but I have got a bit later on where Mooney does like a catch up. But I think next I've got Mooney and Duggan and Volkoff.
Okay, I've got a sneak peek of the Harlem Sewer Rap.
I didn't get that.
Someone just goes up to the cage with a camera and you just see this rat like trying to take a bite out of the cage. It's almost a 4 or 5 second clip. It's nothing.
Of the Harlem Sewer Rat, yeah, which would be in the match that is coming up.
And I've got Mean Gene with the Big Boss Man on his own. He says that he'll uphold the law and he's not afraid of anything.
Because he's a guest referee in that match.
He will be the referee in the Jake the Snake and Bad News Brown match. And then I've got Sean Mooney again. Jesus. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is where it just keeps coming.
So many promos in this.
Mooney with Duggan and Volkoff, Jim Duggan and Nikolai, and Volkoff with the best line of possibly the whole fucking show. Says that Jim Duggan is his idol.
Yeah, Jim Duggan is his idol, and then they talk about the Orient Express, and Volkoff goes, we've got the American Express. And it's just like, fuck off, Volkoff. There's one of my favourite segments in this pay-per-view as well, where a certain character, I won't spoil it yet, a certain character talks about Nikolai Volkoff in a disrespectful way, and I just fucking loved all of it. It was great. Because I mean Volkoff, and also let's not forget Nikolai Volkoff would later be a part of the $1 Million stable, and instead of having dollar signs he would have cent signs on his on his
Something else
gear.
we briefly spoke about on our WrestleMania 11 show.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
We've got Mean Gene again, and this time he's with Earthquake, and I believe you've got something for us.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we've got this. I mean, this event as well, 1990 leading into 1990-91, would be your prime Hasbro figure era. This is the era of the Hasbro figure. So shout out again to Renee Hajek, you know, in the WWF Hasbro Universe group and the WWF Hasbro Generation group. Big up yourselves, people. And yes, we have got Earthquake. This is Hasbro. This is Hasbro territory, mate. 1990, 1991. Yes, and that is a little bit of merchandise that we have here. An Earthquake, aka John Tenter,
AKA Shark, AKA
aka Shark. Sharks
AKA,
would also get a mention in this pay-per-view in a later promo.
Words.
Just heads up.
Gene is with Earthquake, Dino Bravo, and Jimmy Hart. Earthquake blames Tugboat for Hogan's return. Says Hogan made the most foolish decision of his career to come back. And there'll be 2 stretchers at ringside for Hogan and Bossman. And Dino Bravo says he'll take care of them.
Yeah.
Quake says to put in a call to the Red Cross.
Yeah, and have your ambulances in a row.
Yeah, because this is an Earthquake you can predict. It's just crazy.
Like, it's good stuff, man. One thing that annoyed me always about Earthquake's promos, he would make me dizzy while I was watching them because he would always be rocking side to side. Always, it would like, you know, without doubt, all the time, just side to side. It was like he wanted to be Akeem the African Dream. Like what?
I think it was a good little add-on to the gimmick. He was just always bouncing, always ready, always causing tremors as such.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably not. He's probably just a little bit hyperactive. But
cocaine's a hell of a drug, man. This was 1990.
Sean Mooney again. Like there's no matches anymore. Sean Mooney with Jake the Snake. They don't call him the Snake for nothing. He says,
dude,
the Snake keeps trying to wrap around.
This Jake's is, head. Without doubt, for me, the best Jake promo he's ever done. Without doubt.
Is that because the Snake keeps trying to wrap itself around his neck?
Partly, and the fact that he never lost it.
Yeah, like a real pro, he just carries on.
And the fact of the story he was telling. Because he was saying, you know, I don't think this promo is on YouTube. So you have to watch SummerSlam 90 on the network or on VHS to see this promo. I don't think it's on YouTube. But the story he's telling is like, you know, they say we are the company we keep. And he's like, me and Damien have got a lot in common. He says, but bad news, what have you got in common with these sewer rats? You know? And he's like, it's going to come down to hunger. And he's got this fucking massive, because this Damien, because there was obviously a few. Yeah. This was absolutely huge, this Snake. And it's wrapping itself round Jake as he's talking, and he's talking about hunger, and it's going to be coming down to hunger, you know. Damien's hungry and he eats rats and all that, and he's talking about it, and he goes, what makes the difference between a snake like me and a mouse like you, or something like that. And it's like, when he's doing it, he's got this tail of the snake just wrapping around his face, and he doesn't drop a minute, man. It is It is an absolutely fucking great promo. Jake the Snake Roberts, big up yourself, mate. This promo was promo 101, mate. It was, you know, they say never work with children or animals, and you're working with Mean Gene and a snake. So, you know, it's or was it Mooney?
It was Mooney, yeah.
Yeah,
Mooney.
So you're working with Mooney and a snake, but it was one of the best Jake, if not the best Jake the Snake promos ever. You know,
in my mind, I've got a better one. I've got the one after
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, it's the one after he slaps Elizabeth. Tuesday in Texas.
Fucking yeah, great promo. I mean, to be honest, it'd be hard pressed to say the best Jake promo because he was really good. You know, when he was talking about the Bible and the Psalms, you know, it was really Jake the Snake Roberts that helped create the Austin 316 gimmick.
I mean, I'll accept that. I can't imagine many others would.
Well,
But
it was because
I think you're right.
if he hadn't talked about his Bible and his Psalms, and he was talking about John 3:16, and then Austin said, "Well, you talk about your Bible and your Psalms and your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says I just kicked your ass," and that was at King of the Ring 96.
96, yeah.
96. A great promo from Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So aside from that bit there, like I always remember Doc Hendrix's face when he says it as well.
Yeah.
His face turns like he said a bad word, and it's like
in America, you know, they're very like when you mention religion, you know, it doesn't always go down well. I mean, we say bloody hell in England, and
yeah.
in America, you'll be hard pressed to see them say hell on TV or anywhere, you know. So it's one of them things when he was talking about the Bible and Psalms and that.
They used to bleep out the word God and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I do credit Jake the Snake Roberts with being someone to help that, or basically help create the 316 thing, because I think Jake the Snake Roberts and Stone Cold had a phone call, and they were talking about it and what was going to be said and X, Y, and Z, because at that time Jake the Snake Roberts was said to have gotten over his demons, and he was talking about the Bible and talking about religion, and yeah, he was talking about John 3:16. So yeah, people, watch King of the Ring 1996 after Stone Cold Steve Austin beats the shit out of Jake the Snake Roberts. That promo there is the beginning of Austin 3:16, and then at the next event you would see the Austin 3:16 signs.
Yeah. This just before the T-shirts.
Yep.
It is Bad News Brown, Jake the Snake Roberts. Big Boss Man is a special referee. Bad News Brown's already in the ring on my one.
Yep.
They've got the sewer rack covered up.
Yep.
Inside. Now, obviously, everyone knows that Bad News Brown was a bronze medalist in judo or something in the Olympics.
He was judo player. Really interesting story with Bad News Brown. You know, he went and trained in Japan, and he would, you know, he was legitimately tough, legitimately grappler.
He's legit tough. He's just a little bit devoid of charisma. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the story about him offering Andre out on the bus and Andre refusing, like, I think that's what got around and made him such a bit of a curious sort of star.
Hogan said that Bad News said that Hogan come to him later and he said, "I thought you had a gun. I thought you was going to shoot him, because no one would go after Andre like that unless they had some kind of gun or some kind of weapon." But yeah, Bad News is a bad motherfucker.
Andre, refused to get off the bus to fight Bad News, and I think that sort of cemented his place as a tough guy.
He's also got some really good stories about Owen in the early days in Calgary and that in Canada.
Stampede, yeah.
Because apparently Owen, when he first came into the business, was a bit of a jerk.
Now, was he a jerk or was he just pranking like normal?
Well, I don't know, man. I think maybe when you come into the business and your dad owns the territory, and you get used to being one of the family that run it, you're not, you know, you've got that kind of atmosphere around you. You think you kind of own the place, and there's some really good stories where, you know, Bad News had to kind of put him in his place and just say, "Look, man, fuck, you know, you need to just play the game," you know. And I mean, Owen was a genuinely nice guy. Anyway, you know, it's widely known he was a nice guy. But when you're young and you're coming up in that environment, you know, you're going to have a bit of a ego, you know. And I think it was just Bad News Brown had to check him in the early years.
This match, for a storyline and a match, I thought this was pretty good. Jake is trying for the DDT a lot early to try and put him away and try and get it away. Bad News uses a chair outside the ring. Boss Man lets it go. And
yeah.
I have a problem with this match because the crowd is dead, and it's the first match after the intermission, and you can see, like, whenever they cut like to a larger, wider shot, you see a lot of like the fans just coming back to their seats. That must have been a bit disappointing for Jake and Bad News.
I mean, but you know what? There was still some big pops before Jake when he was trying to grab and put the DDT on. There was some really loud DDT chants, DDT.
Yeah,
you know, Jake the Snake. I mean, I've just got in this. You know, Jake was just so good. He was just in the ring. He was just so good. He was never off. You know, the snarly kind of looks when he's, you know, leaning over the ropes. No wasted movement. He was just really good. One thing you do see in this though, is you actually see Bad News Brown mouth the words "push me" to Bossman when he pushes Bossman, and then he says "push me," and then Bossman taps him and pushes him. Then he turns around and Jake lavers him. But yeah, I mean, this is where again Piper says, "Have you ever smelt bad news?" And then Vince goes, "No, why?" And he goes, "Oh, it's chemical warfare again."
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, fucking crazy. And like I say, let's not forget, you know, in WrestleMania, Roddy Piper painted himself half black when fighting against Bad News Brown. He also says, have you seen Bad News Brown's head? It's greased up, oiled up. Piper says. He says if there was any more oil on his head, it would be invaded by Arabs.
Now, if he'd have said it was oiled up so he could get out of the DDT,
yeah,
I would have taken that and thought, yeah, okay, very good.
Yeah.
But no, he
went there.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Like, it's not good, is it?
No.
Yeah, fans are chanting for the DDT, and this match gets ruined because I was quite liking it.
It did get ruined. The finish was dog shit.
Bad News uses the chair again, and Bossman calls for DQ. Why didn't he call for the DQ in the first one?
Yeah. I think I thought it was a count out.
No, DQ on the with the second chair shot.
Oh, and then Bad News Brown tries to leg drop the snake.
Yes, he tries to get to the snake. Bossman moves it. Bossman and Bad News are on the ropes. Jake comes back into the ring, and I've put it just for a laugh. Jake whips it out. He whips out his snake and chases Bad News Brown out of the arena.
He's really rough with it as well, with a snake.
He's rough with his snake.
When he whips it out, he's rough with it. You know, he's throwing it around here willy-nilly. You know,
and there we've become an innuendo podcast.
We have. And you can't. That's the best form of comedy. That is, mate. Never gets old. Yeah, he was quite rough with a snake, you know, and the way he had it. And this snake is absolutely huge. If you see, it stretches out. Oh, he's a big boy. It goes from one end of the ring to the other.
Big all over like the Warlord.
Oh, it was big all over like the Warlord. It was huge. This snake is absolutely massive. Yeah, real big snake.
I've got another WrestleMania 7 promo. It's the same one as before.
Yep.
You've already mentioned Mean Genes with Demolition. They said that the Hearts cheated. Crush says that the imposter LOD are going to wish they never walked in the shadow of Demolition or something weird like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's odd.
And Smash talks about your careers are going to be dark, bleak, and hopeless when we're finished with you. Yeah, the shadow of Demolition is where your career is going to be. It's going to be dark, bleak, and hopeless. And yeah, not a bad promo, to be honest. They look pissed off. Pretty good.
And now we come to I didn't mind this segment. I thought it was quite fun.
This is the one I was talking about before.
We have the podcast king himself, Brother Love, Mr. Pritchard. It's his own segment, and Piper calls him Blubber Love.
He does indeed.
Yeah. And Brother Love says the guest he has now is the man to tell people what to do.
He goes, because America has become soft. They have
Yeah.
become weak. You
And
need people to tell you what to do. I love Brother Love. Brother Love for me, if I get invited to a fancy dress party, the next fancy dress party I get invited to, if I do any cosplay, is going to be Brother Love. Because, it's just fantastic stuff. The old preacher kind of gimmick. This was the segment I was talking about earlier, where a character just goes in on Nikolai Volkoff, because Nikolai Volkoff he'd turned on his partner, and in the SummerSlam, what's that thing called what we watched again?
SummerSlam Fever, yeah.
SummerSlam Fever, that's it. In the SummerSlam Fever, Boris Zukov and him, they had a match, and basically Nikolai Volkoff got given like a little medal. It was like an great American
Boy Scouts medal or something.
The Boy Scouts medal, Boy Scouts of America medal. And this fucking segment is just pure heel gold. Who is on the Brother Love segment then, dude? Who does he bring down?
Drill Sergeant Slaughter.
Drill Sergeant Slaughter.
He makes his way out, and Piper mocks his jaw, says you can fit the alphabet on his jaw or something like that. I don't know. And this is one of the best bits of the segment. Slaughter gets in the ring and hugs Brother Love. I think it's hilarious.
Good stuff, man. Great stuff.
America has become soft, apparently.
They've become weak. They've become soft.
And Sarge has, he has the Great American Award to bring out.
Yep.
And it goes to Brother Love.
He searched all over America, dude.
Yeah.
He searched all over America. Didn't find anyone that was worthy of this medal. And then he looked in the WWF and found one man who was worthy of this award. I
get it. I feel like Brother Love was probably the best American in the 1990s.
Of course he was.
Yeah. He was the American of all Americans before we had, Jack Swagger and We the People and all that stuff. I mean, real American heroes.
Before we had the American males as well.
Not that fucking song again.
I had to mention it because I know you love it so much.
They're
American males.
Damn. Yep. Sarge declares war on Nikolai Volkoff, and he calls him. Now, this is a lot of name calling in one sentence, but I've got him calling him a commie, maggot, scum, puke.
Yep, commie, maggot, scum, puke. I've got those exact words written down as well.
That's a lot to fit into one sentence. And if war broke out tomorrow, because America's so soft in the Middle East, then the General Saddam Hussein would kick America's butts.
Yeah.
And that went over like a fart in church, didn't it?
That was
fans shat all over it.
It was crazy, because he says America is too weak to declare war, because obviously it was a military conflict at that point. There was no war, they weren't declaring war, and it's just such a cheap heat kind of thing to do. And he says if war broke out in tomorrow, then the Saddam would kick America's butt. So
and they hug again.
And because he says, you America, you have let this commie into your hearts. You have let him into your arms, Nikolai Volkoff. You have let him in. This commie, maggot, puke.
We have another cracking interview up next. It's Sean Mooney with Mr. Fuji and the Orient Express.
So good. So good.
It's the USA and USSR coming up against honourable Japanese know-how.
That's right.
And Fuji would also go on to say that Duggan has one cross eye, and afterwards he'll have two cross eyes.
And also then you see Sato next to him doing the old cross eyes as well. Yeah. It's fucking brilliant. Such a good promo. And he's like, yeah, you've got one guy, the Russian, and all that, and then so good, such a good
Yeah.
promo.
Mean Gene has found Sapphire, but she shut herself in a room.
Yeah.
And we get to the Orient Express against Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkoff. It is the same music for Volkoff and Duggan that would be used when Lex Luger rolls into town 3 years later as the Lex Express and all that stuff. I found that funny. We have to please rise for a beautiful rendition of God Bless America from Duggan and Volkoff. This is good singing.
Oh, dude, it's painful. It's this match, right? I feel is disrespectful to Tanaka and Sato, to be honest, because the Orient Express were a fucking great tag team, really good wrestlers. And I've got written down here, quick cheap pop match.
From Duggan. Duggan gets a cheap pop in on the microphone.
Always. The troops in the Middle East.
Yeah, he went for it, and we have a cheap pop.
We have a cheap pop.
Yeah.
It is just that the whole match is just some cheap pop patriotism,
Yeah.
bollocks. It is just dog shit.
Piper doesn't trust Volkoff.
No.
Fuji gets stuck in with a cane at one point.
Brilliant.
And because it's such a short match, and it is, Duggan gets the big clothesline, and Tanaka sells it brilliantly.
Yes, he does. He gets turned inside out.
Yeah, and there you have it. Another. It's a throwaway TV match.
It had no place. Yeah, had no place on a pay-per-view, bro.
Yeah, there we go. Another one. You've got Mean Gene again outside Sapphire's room with Dusty. Dusty don't know what's wrong.
Just quickly as well, after the cheap pop Volkoff Duggan match, right? It pans in the crowd, and you see one of the greatest things you will ever see. It's so weird, but so like 90s. It's unbelievable. I swear, there's a kid, right, in a pair of pants, dressed up as the Warrior. You saw him, right, dude? He literally was just wearing a pair of pants, had the tassels tied on, right, a high pair of boots, and like the face paint. It was incredible. It was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Kid was cosplaying before it was cool.
Dude, I'm glad you clocked it as well. All I've got is kid dressed as Warrior, amazing! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
I'm not sure if he beats the double denim guy from our last episode with the Sting face paint.
I don't think you can beat the double denim guy with the Sting face paint, but kid dressed as the Warrior was fantastic. Good shit. Sorry, mate. Yes, Dusty Rhodes banging on Sapphire's door. If I need to go to the ring alone, I will go alone. But I come back. Yeah.
We've got Sean Mooney on possibly the most rickety of all ladders in history.
So good.
Talking to the Macho Man, who cuts an amazing promo on his throne.
Really good.
Really like it's. I don't know how to big this one up. Like, you've got so much going on in it, but he just, he says this is not what our forefathers pictured when they pictured the American dream.
Yeah. They'd be turning in their graves. They didn't imagine you, Dusty Rhodes, and they're talking about all the rumors to do with Sapphire and all that, and she didn't want to be left with some commoner like you for the rest of her life. She's smart and all this, if the rumors are true. So they're selling what is going to happen. Yeah.
This is it's absolute brilliance from the Macho King. And I've got a little bit that, like, I don't know if you caught this or not, but you see the look on Dusty's face just for a couple of seconds when Macho's music hits and the crowd are cheering for him. Dusty turns and looks like a little bit. He's almost like he's annoyed.
Yeah, I've got Dusty looking sad in the middle of the ring for a sec, and I think that was must have been the Macho King pop.
Because he comes out on this massive throne and like he's getting cheers like But he's Macho King. He's Randy Savage. He's gonna get cheered like by some people.
I watched something the other day. Actually, it might have even been yesterday. I watched it where Randy Savage and Angelo Poffo. I think it's Memphis when he or somewhere where he comes in and he starts attacking people and that and going crazy. It's Memphis because the King's not there and he just goes crazy and the King's not there and they're like, you wouldn't be acting like this if the King was here, and he's just like goes in and beats the crap out of people, and he pulls this banner out and it just says Macho Man wants the King or something like that. Angelo Poffo's holding it one side, the Macho Man's holding it the other side. It's like, I watch a lot of the old Memphis stuff. They had one match where it was fucking Freddy Krueger versus, they had like Nightmare Freddy against I can't remember who it was, but they were really, they didn't want to.
Was it Freddie or Jason or something? Was
they
it?
had but Jason was in there as well. They had Jason as well, and it was I can't remember who Freddie was fighting. It was such a crazy match. And he got the King out to sit out and keep an eye on him and everything. Like, Memphis was crazy, dude. Like, it was crazy. Yeah, and it's only because I recently just watched a thing. Yeah, I think it was yesterday where Randy Savage and Angelo Poffo, his old man, came into Memphis when the King weren't there and just literally went absolutely crazy. Really, but absolutely crazy. Yeah, good stuff, man. And like I say, that promo there, Macho Man sitting on the throne, was just phenomenal.
Before the match gets started, our $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase and Virgil, get to the little platform.
You hear the laugh.
Yeah, you hear that laugh, that iconic laugh, which I'm not even going to try and imitate because it would be fucking pointless.
Yeah.
But he tells all that everybody has a price, even you know, Dusty, and
even you, Common Man. He keeps calling him Common Man.
Dusty's humiliation.
Yeah.
Because he's the one been sending all the gifts to Sapphire. I don't know why anyone didn't cotton on sooner.
Yeah.
It was the bag of money. It was, the mink coat and all of that. And Dusty's been humiliated. And then the match starts, and we get a rare Dusty Rhodes drop kick.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that's what I've got here. Sherry attacks him in the ring as well. It looks like she's right. I'm sorry, guys. I might have a dirty mind, but like Dusty's on the edge of the ring, and the way that Sherry puts her knee over his face, it looks like she just sits on his face for a second, and then and then pulls off. Like, it's fucking hilarious, but it just looks really weird. Like, she just sits on his face for a second. It's a great match. I mean, anything with Sherry Martel in is great. Yeah, but she attacks him in the ring a couple of times. You get a little Dusty comeback, as you say. You get a really nice Dusty Rhodes drop kick, and then Sherry gives.
The sad thing about this match is it's a throwaway.
It is a throwaway. They could have had a great match.
Yeah. Savage manages to clobber Dusty with Sherry's purse, and that's it. There's no elbow. There's no big time Dusty comeback. Where he stirs the crowd and stuff, and really, like, it's just. And you get cheers as well for the Savage pin, the win as well. Which is like, I mean, this crowd has turned on a lot of the
ruthless, man, proper, yeah.
Mooney's outside Ted DiBiase's private suite, which looks like a curtain.
Yeah, it's a curtain.
And Virgil, Sapphire, and Ted get into that limousine. Ted says there's nothing that that money can't buy and all that. Dusty can't quite catch up, and that's the end of that.
Chases. You see Dusty Rhodes chasing the car.
Yeah.
You see Virgil chasing after Virgil and the boss, the $1 Million Man, as we've covered before. The reason why they called Virgil was a rib on Dusty Rhodes, because obviously that's his real name. And then when he was in WCW, they called him Vincent.
Vincent, yeah. This
Which never ceases to get a giggle
wrestling
out of me.
at its finest.
Yeah, good shit.
Earthquake makes his way to the ring. Piper calls him a warthog. I don't think this is. You see, I think this is Piper being a bit of a prat. I think, you know, what you're not going to rename him Warthog, are you, on the show? So just call him Earthquake. Like, it was, you know, it sort of reminded me a little bit of Larry Zbyszko calling the NWO the New World Order or something like that, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We kept trying to get that over and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we get Mean Gene with Hogan and Bossman, and
they dedicate it to Tugboat. The match they dedicate the match to Tugboat.
Which is weird because did you ever hear the story about what the plan was if they couldn't get Sergeant Slaughter in?
What if they couldn't get Sergeant Slaughter in on the show?
If they couldn't get Slaughter in for this whole anti-American thing, they were going to use Tugboat, and he was going to be Sheik Tugboat. It's something that we've heard, like Bruce Pritchard, like told the story on his podcast, Something to Wrestle With. Shout out to Bruce and Conrad. Hey, Conrad. And yeah, it's such a wild story that it was going to be Tugboat that beat Warrior at Rumble. He was going to be the man to face Hogan at WrestleMania 7. Like, if they couldn't get Slaughter in, it was going to be Sheik Tugboat. And I thought, what the fuck is this?
I still remember one of my vivid memories on Superstars when I was growing up as a kid was when Sergeant. The thing that I remember when I was growing up was like a fond memory was when Sergeant Slaughter burnt Hulk Hogan's face. With yeah, I fucking loved that. Yeah, I thought that was great. I was never really a Hulkamaniac, to be honest.
Just a wild story that you'd like Bruce Pritchard told, that it was going to be Sheik Tugboat, and you're like, that would have never got over.
And unless they do what they did to Rikishi, and they made him the Sultan. Do you remember the Sultan?
Yeah.
And you had, but there's another story as well, right? Do you know who was supposed to be the Sultan? Sabu.
No.
It was supposed to be Sabu, because Sabu, they wanted Sabu to do it, and they say obviously his tongue was cut out, and they were going to say that his uncle was the Sheik, the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
But the fact is, he didn't want to do it because he said that would disrespect his real uncle, who was the original Sheik. Yeah. And he said, look, I can't do it, because he actually had a couple of dark matches with WWE or WWF at the time. He had a couple of dark matches and that, and they said, yeah, we want you to be this Sultan character. Your tongue's been cut out. He's going to be your uncle. And he said, I can't do it because that would disrespect my real uncle, who's the Sheik, the original Sheik. But then they had the Sultan, which was actually Rikishi, and he had like the thing over his mouth, and he never spoke. Yeah. So there's a little bit of wrestling history for you. But also the tugboat would become someone else, wouldn't he?
He would eventually team up with Earthquake as a Typhoon.
Typhoon.
Have you got Typhoon there with you as well? Or?
I haven't taken him out of the cabinet because he didn't exist at this time. No, so he's still in the glass cabinet.
I think a Hasbro tugboat might have sold.
People do customs of him. There's a load of there's a load of customs. I actually sold. I had two spares. I had a spare. This is my spare Earthquake, and I had a spare Typhoon. And I just recently sold my spare Typhoon because I think someone's doing a tugboat custom.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Hogan promo with Bossman, and Bossman says they have the right to be beaten, and something beaten into silence. Justice Hogan presiding and all sorts.
Judge Hogan presiding, and he says, you know, Hogan calls him like George George Bossman Washington and
Yeah.
something Hogan with some other president, and it's our Third Amendment. But he says there's also another promo where he talks about there's four things, because it used to be train, say your prayers and your vitamins, but that's in a later, more crazier promo.
And yeah, it's what you're gonna do, when Bossman, Hogan, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice that Bossman got a bigger pop here than he did on his earlier appearance?
Yes, but the thing is though, excuse me, I think they thought it was Hogan coming out. So as soon as any music, as soon as any music hit, because I've got Bossman pop, but I think it was they were expecting Hogan, and then Bossman's music came out, and everyone just popped, and then they saw him come out and thought, oh, it's Bossman, and then obviously when Hogan come out, because Hogan had been away for a bit, hadn't he?
He'd been away filming, yeah. He'd taken some time off to film something because I think Hogan at this point was possibly thinking he was bigger than wrestling, could maybe break Hollywood. I mean, he doesn't, as much as he wants to think he might have done. He doesn't, and he has to keep coming back to wrestling by not by choice, but probably more for because he needs it. He needs the money. And this brings me to a bit of memorabilia. Here comes
Wrestling buddies. So
it's the buddy.
So if
It's
anyone
cool.
can't see it, for all our podcast listeners, Jordan JB is holding up one of the original buddies, WWF buddies of Hulk Hogan.
And the mad thing, I've had that since I was about 5 years old, maybe even 4 or 5. Yeah, like I don't know how it's held on to its lifespan as long as it has, but
I've seen some people replace the stuffing inside those, and it gives them a
okay.
whole new lease of life. Yeah, you can. I had Jake the Snake Roberts, and I put him in the wash and everything. They come out really nice.
Okay.
Because yeah, there's new buddies though, aren't they? They've got new ones of like AJ Styles and fucking Roman Reigns and all that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've got new ones. This is the thing that pisses me off about WWF. Anything that they had back in the day, they're recreating now. So they've got a new set of buddies, and everyone's collecting them now. You've got the Hasbro retros. Well, they're not Hasbro, they're Mattel retros, but they look like the Hasbros of all the new guys and that. They've
I
even
saw
brought out
that.
the retro ring, you know?
I saw a retro Seth Rollins in the local, was it B&M, one of the discount shops.
Yeah, they're like £4.
It was like, yeah, it was going for like £4, and like I was like, wow, it must not have taken off.
No, it did take off. I think there's a few of them that are quite common though, but some of them are quite rare, or they seem to be rare, and they were going for quite a bit of money. There's a few in my entertainer in the town. I was gonna get, like I say, there was a Rock, there was a Goldberg, and I was gonna get them, but I thought, you know what, fuck it, I don't like the idea of it. I think it's just kind of cashing in on nostalgia.
I've got this again. Hogan pops are fucking ridiculous.
Oh, I mean,
You can talk about LOD pops, you can talk about anyone else's pops, but Hogan pops in the late 80s / early 90s are something else. They're long, they're they're sustained cheers and pops for this guy, and it's just amazing.
He looked the business, you know. Hulkamania was huge. You know, the amount of t-shirts and bandanas and that were probably sold. You know, this is where you see Earl Hebner pocket a piece of merchandise where Hogan comes out with his bandana on, he rips it off in the middle of the ring, or it gets ripped off, then Hebner picks it up, and usually it would get chucked out or thrown to the crowd. He fucking puts it in his skyrocket, mate, straight into his pocket.
Oh,
If there was eBay then, that was straight on eBay. You know, he was
yeah.
selling that to the rats or something at the end of the event.
You see a Hogan smirk at the Hogan chants that go up because it's loud in there. There's a lot of Hogan. You just see a slight little smirk like from Hogan. He knows he's making his money this night. He knows he's over. He knows he's the top guy, even though he's not the main event.
Sorry, mate. There's another story about Bad News Brown where the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, goes to him. And it's when Hogan and Warrior had the main event at Mania. or I think it was WrestleMania, weren't it? Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, and basically he Hellwig the Warrior is speaking to Bad News Brown. He said, "Yeah, I'm just, I'm worried about what I'm gonna do. Asking for money and that. But I know Hogan's getting $1 million." And Bad News Brown says to him, fucking, if he's asking for $1 million, you ask for $1 million. You're both in the main event in that. There's no main event if there's no you. Like there's no main event if there's no him. So go in there and ask for $1 million. Or worst he can say is no. And then basically the Ultimate Warrior takes his advice and goes in there, and Vince says to him, how much money do you want for this? Blah blah blah. And he said, well, Hogan's getting $1 million. I want $1 million. Vince says, yeah, all right, that's fair, no problem. and then Hellwig comes out and says to Bad News, yeah, he said yes. And then Bad News said, oh, you should buy me dinner, and he never did.
Couldn't even buy a mistake.
No, I didn't even buy a mistake, man.
Earthquake wins the early power battles in this. Hogan is trying to sell that he's bigger and stronger than he is and stuff,
and that his ribs are still
Hogan
hurting.
rolls out to the floor.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen Hogan do that. Yeah.
Not until he turns heel in like '96.
Yep.
Hogan rolling out to the floor.
Which we have also covered in one of our previous episodes, where we cover Bash at the Beach, WCW event, the heel turn held around the world. Please go back and watch our previous episodes.
Hogan does start getting to Earthquake. Quake won't go down. He's doing his best to get him on the floor. When he does get him down, the place goes absolutely berserk.
Yeah.
Again, it's minimal storytelling from Hogan, but every little thing that he does seems to get the wildest of cheers, and it's so insane.
It's a poor match. It's a really poor match.
Earl fucking Hebner has lost control at this point. Bravo's in, Bossman's in. There's a double boot from Hogan and Bossman to Bravo.
And then one to Earthquake as well. But it's a double boot. But it's not just a double boot. They're like arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, like giving each other a quick hug, and they're doing the double boot at the same time. Great stuff.
Earthquake goes to the top rope. I thought this was good.
Yeah. This
is one of the best things about it. He goes to the top rope and gets Hogan with a shot, like just a sort of a one-arm hit. It's, I don't think I've ever seen him on the top rope ever again.
Apart from on the fucking coins on a pole match.
Oh yeah, the coins on a pole match, yeah, and Bash at the Beach, yeah.
Which also would have Bossman involved.
The incredibly phallic, coins in his sock on a pole match.
Yeah.
Dino Bravo slams Hogan. So I thought Dino Bravo was pretty good in this whole setup. He played the role of like Earthquake second really well. Didn't try and steal focus or nothing. Didn't try and get himself over.
Well, you've got Roddy Piper saying, "Oh, you know how ugly girls will put themselves with other fat ugly girls to make themselves look better. That's what Dino Bravo does with Earthquake."
Yeah. It's so rude.
He's so rude.
Hogan tries to slam Earthquake. He crumbles and falls to the ground. You get a Quake bear hug, which must be to get their wind back. They must have little rest hold. And then Hogan goes for a crossbody.
Yeah.
One of my favourite bits. He goes for a crossbody. Never again, I don't think, as well for Hogan. This is new move territory.
Yeah. Out of comfort zone stuff.
Yeah. Earthquake hits the big Earthquake finisher twice.
The spasms from Hogan are just crazy when he's lying on the floor like spasming.
He hits the second Earthquake and he gets a 2 count because Hogan is going to Hulk up. He's going to do what he's done to every other heel in the WWF since about 1985.
Yep.
But the fans lap up every fucking second of it.
They eat it up, mate. Proper.
Yeah. He slams him. He slams Earthquake. He gets the leg drop, but then it just descends into more chaos. Hulk slams Earthquake on the table. The table
Yeah,
doesn't break.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, outside the ring, and Hogan gets the win by count out.
Yeah.
Bossman, Bravo and Earthquake get back into the ring to attack Hogan. And Bossman gets a step ladder, of all things. It's not a chair, and it must be like made of razor blades or something.
Yeah, because you can see instantly the marks on Earthquake's back. He like fucking Bossman lathers him with this like step ladder thing, and even in the later interview, you've got Jimmy Hart saying, "Look what he's done to his back." But literally, instantly, as soon as he hits him, you can just see these welts and these red blood marks on Earthquake's back.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they chase the guys out of there, and it's Hogan must pose, as someone always puts it. And fuck me, how long does this go on for?
Longer than the fucking match, mate. He starts off with a chicken dance when he says, "Oh, they've gone, they're chickens," and he does like a little chicken dance in the middle of the ring. Boss man, like he goes to go, and then Boss Man drags him back in again. It's like the whole reluctant, oh no, I'm gonna go kind of thing, and then Boss Man's like drags him back.
Too cool and Rikishi.
Oh,
Rikishi
mate.
leave the ring, yeah.
You know, and it was like the posing was longer than the match, and it's this thing here where Hogan is not used to not going on last.
Yeah.
So he thinks he's just going to eat up all this time, like doing the whole posing and that kind of stuff. It's like, dude, get the fuck out of the ring. They've got to put a cage up, mate. You know what I mean?
We've still got a main event.
We've still got a main event, bro.
Bossman looks like a spare part in this bit.
Yeah.
He's just sort of standing around. He's not posing. He's not doing any of that.
No.
Piper says he's posing for nothing. It was a cheap win.
And it wasn't. I mean, it was a shit match.
Yeah.
And they keep playing that it's going to happen again. They're going to be having the match again. It's not over.
And the posing went on forever. I was sort of expecting it to finish like every couple more seconds, and it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, there's still another match to come, right?
Yep.
We finally cut away to Sean Mooney with Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice promo. You know, Rude has referenced Rocky, like as we're in Philly. He's saying that he's beat the Warrior before, he'll beat him again. And I mean, this bit ends, and this is the best bit for me, you know, because Rude says, "Ain't gonna be no rematch."
Yes, right. Because it's so good. The Rocky references in this, you know, he goes, you know, Rocky came to the Spectrum and he was gonna fight the seemingly unbeatable Apollo Creed, you know, and then you've got Bobby Heenan saying, yeah, there won't be no sequel, no Rocky 2, 3 or 4, you know, and then Rude says, there ain't gonna be no rematch. And it was one of the greatest promos, brilliant stuff. I mean, Rude and Heenan together, good stuff, man.
Another cutaway, Mean Gene with Dusty Rhodes again, and this is the Dusty promo we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This is Dusty calling it emotion. He says this bit did crack me up. He said he offered his innocence to Sapphire.
I've got that written down as well. He goes, emotion. He goes, the WWF is about. He goes, I offered up my innocence to her, and she took the money, and that's fine.
He says the fans are saying, "When are you going to get mean, Big Dust?"
Yeah, when are you going to get mean, Daddy? Great promo.
He's coming for him. And they do end up, I think they have a tag match or something at Royal Rumble 91.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Dustin. I think Dustin gets a little shot as well.
Okay.
I think one of the Saturday night's main events, Dustin is sitting ringside and gets attacked by Ted and Virgil. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Did you get Alfred Hayes out by the cage?
Yes, I did. Saying about the world record time for putting up the cage was something like 8 minutes and something, and they're going to try and beat it.
I've not seen this in the Guinness Book of World Records, putting up cages, but
I think that was a dig at Hogan taking up all the time. I think it was a dig at Hogan being in the ring too long, and he said, "I've been talking to the guys who are putting up the ring, and they're saying they're going to try and beat their world record of 8 minutes and 46 seconds or something like that." And I think that's a dig at Hogan taking up the time, so they've got to be
How long
fucking
he was posing.
yeah. So they've got to be sharpish in putting the cage up.
Mean Gene is with Hulk Hogan.
Just quickly, dude, as well. Sorry, mate. Lord Alfred Hayes was a fantastic wrestler, an absolutely fantastic wrestler. And there's a really great match that is on YouTube, and it's in the AWA days, and it's Alfred Hayes versus Bobby Heenan. Really great match, because people don't seem to realise how much of a good wrestler Bobby Heenan was. So big up Lord Alfred Hayes. British wrestlers are just good. I'm sorry, Americans, but British wrestlers are just bloody good. Technically, some of the moves that you will see British wrestlers do, you will not see in an American ring.
It's a style, yeah.
It's a style.
that,
The British wrestling style is fantastic. You've got people, like Mal Sanders. You've got people like Lord Alfred Hayes. You've got those like Lord Stephen Regal.
Doug Williams.
No, Stephen, mate. He will always be Stephen Regal.
No, Doug Williams.
Oh, Doug Williams. Sorry, I thought you. Dougie Williams, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of the moves that they do, Dougie Williams is great for it as well, where
Absolute ring masters, yeah.
He would do those old school English wrestling moves. They were moves that we got taught, and they get passed down
you get
generation to generation. Where when you're in the head scissors and you do the turn and you do the handstand and you pop out, things like that you just don't see in an American ring. And that match there, Lord Alfred Hayes versus Bobby Heenan, you see all of that. We're going to cover a British pay-per-view from FWA in future. We will do it, and there's a really great match on there with Mal Sanders and Steve Gray, and it is like, because in British wrestling they used to do rounds. So you would have the rounds or whatever, and that is like your British wrestling masterclass. Some of the moves and stuff that they're doing, fantastic stuff. So I just had to shout out. I know we've got some American listeners and American viewers, but British wrestling, we do represent British wrestling. We love it, and we've had some fantastic talents come out of this country. And like you say, British wrestling is its own style in itself.
Do we know much about Romanian wrestling?
No, we don't, but we have got a few listeners. Big up our Romanian listeners. We have got a few, fans in Romania that have been downloading the podcast and that on Spotify and Apple, iTunes and all that. So yeah, fantastic stuff, man. We love it. We love it. So we shout out everybody that listens, but we have got to give a shout out to British wrestling, because it is. I mean, there's a huge history of wrestling in the UK. Absolutely huge history, from in the music halls, and country fetes and country fairs and holiday camps. We've been brought up with wrestling, with your giant haystacks and your big daddies, and your Steve Grays and your Mal Sanders and your people like that. We've and your
Ricky Knight.
Ricky Knight, and Rollerball Rocco, and all people like that. You know what I mean? Like, British wrestling style is fantastic. And if no one's really watched it, of our American listeners and whatnot, check out some British wrestling. There's some names for you, to check out. But yes, Alfred Hayes does say there's a world record attempt to put it up, and I think that's a dig at Hogan for taking the piss with the posing. So.
But we still have Mean Gene with Hogan, and Hogan says that all the new buildings around the world that are being put up from here to there and everywhere else are now earthquake proof.
That's right.
Jesus. He says he wants Jack Tunney to make him the #1 contender, and Mean Gene agrees with him. And this made me think that they were going to do Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 7, the rematch.
Yeah. I think that's what Hogan's probably pushing for, because the reason why he mentions Jack Tunney as well, because for people that don't know, Jack Tunney was the chairman or the president of the WWF.
The on-screen president.
That's right. So, you also have Hogan talking about, I'm gonna drag this big fat dude around. He said, "I'm going to drag this big fat dude around the the buildings and all this kind of stuff," talking about earthquake, and then he talks about the 400,000 cards and letters that he got when he was off, because obviously they played it that he was injured and that's why he was out, and then obviously loads of fans were writing to him, so he's saying that he had nearly 500,000 cards and letters from the Hulkamaniacs. And then he starts talking about he wants that, not he fucking it he Hogan, man, like this is, he's just hyped, man, and he goes, there was 3 tenements and now there's 4 tenements, and it's train, do your training, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and believe in yourself, because if you believe in yourself like the Hulkamaniacs believed in me, brother, you're going to achieve great things. And then he talks about he's going to go and get a surfboard, and he's going to go and buy the biggest surfboard, and he's going to be chasing the sharks, and he's going to jump on a tidal wave. That's right, a tidal wave.
He just
talk about.
Like I said, this is what made me think that they were going to go WrestleMania 7 with Hogan Warrior, the rematch. I think it probably would have sold more than Hogan Slaughter.
Weren't there a WrestleMania or an event where it was supposed to be Warrior and he never turned up because his old man died? Was that not WrestleMania 7?
WrestleMania, I think it might have. It was in Your House, actually.
Was it?
Yeah. It was an In Your House. It was meant to be a 6-man as the main event.
Right, but I am aware.
International incident or something like that.
Something happened where Warrior he didn't go to the show because it was either his dad's funeral. I think because there's a really good Ultimate Warrior Jim Hellwig shoot interview that was really long, and he fucking laid into Hogan. Really laid into Hogan about certain bits and bobs, because Hogan would say he was gay and all this kind of stuff, but then the Ultimate Warrior says, yeah, but Hogan, you let people shag your missus and all this kind of stuff. Like, you offered.
Yeah, brutal time, wasn't it?
It was brutal, man. He said you even offered her to me, Terry. Do you remember that, Terry? Like that. Guys, watch that fucking shoot interview. Just the Ultimate Warrior Jim Hellwig in front of a camera. It's about 2 hours long. Crazy stuff.
We've got a quick one saying that with Piper saying that he's picking Rude for the main event. Sean Mooney again with Earthquake. See, this just keeps going. There's just too many interviews in this show, and it's dragging on. Sean Mooney with Earthquake and Bravo and Jimmy Hart. Earthquake swears revenge, and Dino Bravo starts like aggressively shouting at the camera, and then we switch back over to Mean Gene again. I just don't know how many times these guys need to talk.
There's so many promos in this event. Honestly, it is like so many.
Warrior opens with a joke. I didn't know he had stand-up comedy in his routine.
Yeah.
But what does Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan have in common with the Liberty Bell? One is cracked and the other one is a ding dong.
Yeah.
Mean Gene is trying to laugh, I think, or is intimidated to laugh. I don't know.
To be honest, though, after that point, it was one hell of a promo. You might not understand everything that he was saying, but he did ramble off a bit, but he did have a point to it. But he talks about, it's his right to be the champion or something like that. Inalienable, because they're talking about, obviously, the Liberty Bell and all this kind of stuff to do with, the founding fathers and that, and inalienable rights and all this kind of, it's his inalienable right to have the title and that. And it was one hell of a promo, man. It was after that Liberty Bell gag, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it is difficult to decode an Ultimate Warrior promo anytime, so I'm not going to start now. It's wild. The network have dubbed over Rick Rude's music, as we've might have already touched on, and at this point you can't hear what Vince and Piper are saying. They are talking. You can just about make out that they are talking, but I can't decipher what they're saying, so I might have missed something I might not have done.
This is why, people, videos. You get Rick Rude's music. You get him walking down. You know, cut the music.
We
And he
get
talks.
this bit now.
Yeah, he talks about the fat, ugly Pennsylvania pissants. Fucking gold, man. So good.
You know, keep the noise down. All of that stuff. It's
good.
Gold. Warrior makes his way down. Big pop for the Warrior. How many times does he run round the ring?
Yeah, almost as many times as Dino Bravo was running around the ring in the previous match before Hogan and that got down. But yeah, he was running around probably about 4 times.
Warrior starts the match. He climbs into the cage, like he climbs in. He doesn't go through the door. He starts throwing Rude around like Rude's bumping like mad, like Perfect earlier on, just taking shots into the cage. I'm not sure how he gets cut. I couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it, and I actually thought he might have actually busted himself open hard way, rather than blading, because I actually, you know, he gets thrown. I've got in here. They start at the top punching, and then literally Rude gets thrown into every side of the cage. Yeah. Some of them twice, and he gets thrown head first into him. And I don't know if he, you know, I don't know if it was genuine, you know, busted open, because, you know, he gets busted open early.
Disappointingly, this would be Ravishing Rick Rude's last in-ring appearance on a WWF pay-per-view,
which is sad.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. We don't really know the ins and outs. I know he gets let go just before Survivor Series, but I mean, Rude was money, and he went on to prove that when he went to WCW later on. I'm sure this is a big loss for the WWF. I think him going, because he's going from main event in SummerSlam to not being on the show at all. I think that's crazy.
It is crazy. He was gold in the ring. He was an absolutely fucking great performer on the mic and in promos. He was absolutely fantastic. If you look at the promos and that they were doing, like I say, on the SummerSlam Sizzler thing that we watched, the promo thing, SummerSlam Fever, you see they have a whole segment of all these different things that Rick Rude's doing. So he's running on the beach with Bobby Heenan. He's in the doing with the punch bag that's got the Warrior's face on it. You know, his promo's absolutely gold. As a character, Ravishing Rick Rude as a heel, I thought he would have made an absolutely fantastic heel champion.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know why they didn't put the strap on him.
I mean,
because maybe they were setting up for Hogan Warrior.
Hogan was champion for a majority of that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know,
Hogan was dropping it to Rude. And yeah, maybe, I mean, when you look at it the way it works out, he could have probably had a run with it, but then, you know, Warrior wouldn't have had a run, Hogan wouldn't have had as long of a run. Again, they put the belt on Sarge, so maybe he could have done it then, but he's gone by then. So
it would have been great, you know, because the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, won the Intercontinental Championship off of Mr. Perfect, who is arguably one of the best Intercontinental champions that they ever had. And it would have been great if they would have had the Heenan family have both the belts, and it just would have been great. You know, they would have been winning by Healy ways. You know, obviously they don't like to put the straps on, you know, they don't like to put the straps on heels for too long, but no. I think it's good to have heel champions. I think I think you need to.
Yeah, I mean, this is a slugfest. This one, isn't it?
And I've got down here because there is a comeback from Rick Rude where he starts smashing the Warrior into the cages, and I've got down here the Warrior sells better than Malenko. So you've got the Ultimate Warrior, who is supposed to be like an animal, you know.
I thought this was going to be a Malenko free show.
Even no, never. Even he sells when he's supposed to.
Oh man, I don't know what to say.
I knew you'd like that. I didn't tell you that in the
Oh man.
prelims. But yeah, I just got it written down here. Warrior sells better than Malenko. And
Oh,
Heenan slams the door on the Warrior's face as well, which is
he
another
does. He
good moment
slams
to
it on his
this.
head.
Because it's not a particularly long main event either.
I think they give it about 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long at all.
And again, they've obviously put one or two too many matches on the show, far too many interviews.
Yeah.
And yeah, this isn't a long match. It is full of, bits and pieces. Heenan does slam the cage on Warrior's head. Rude does get a rude awakening in. Rude climbs to the top of the cage. Now, when they do highlight footage of old WWF stuff, and like you see Snooker jumping and diving from the top of the cage and all that, never had Rude in it.
No.
And Rude goes from the top of the cage to hit Warrior once with a clothesline or something, then tries it.
An axe, yeah.
Yeah. Rude tries to get out of the cage through the door, which is cue for Warrior to pull his trunks down.
Yeah.
His arse out.
Bare ass Rude. And it's funny, as a kid, that was a thing that I remember as a kid. Rick Rude's bare ass, so when he's getting pulled back into the cage.
He pulls Heenan in whilst he's pulling him back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heenan takes a couple of shots.
Heenan bumps like an absolute superstar in this as well.
Yeah.
Heenan, he takes an atomic drop and then flies out of where the door is, and it's just perfect.
Really good.
It's brilliant. Watch Heenan's work in this. Fantastic.
Warrior he picks up Rude for a press slam, drops him down, and then just climbs out the cage. He does a little hip swivel on the way out.
Yep.
For some reason.
Yeah. He does a little gyrate while he's climbing down the cage.
And it's your winner and still champion. He picks up his wonderful blue winged eagle belt.
I loved that belt when I loved it because he had it in a couple of different colours, didn't he?
Yeah, and still champion.
That's right. As people who are listening to the podcast won't be able to see, Jordan's holding up one of the WWF buddies, and this time it's the Ultimate Warrior with the championship belt.
Yeah.
God, I bet that pissed off Hogan, didn't it? Is Hogan's one got a belt?
Yeah, Hogan's one has got a championship belt. So has Warriors, but that was the only ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, LOD didn't have one.
Jake the Snake.
Boss Man.
$1 Million Man.
Did he have the $1 Million belt around his waist?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Warrior climbs back up to the top of the cage, holds up the title. It's a nice sort of visual, swings the title around his head.
He's swinging it like a lasso, yeah.
He gets back into the ring and does another hip swivel.
Yeah.
And we get the Vince McMahon, so long, everybody.
Yep.
Now, is that the end, or do you have anything extra?
No, my last line is swings belt on top, gets back in, gyrates.
Gyrates.
Yeah, that's me, mate. I got nothing else.
It says he's got bonus exclusive, never before seen footage. I mean,
I think that's or bonus exclusive footage maybe that wasn't shown on the night.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the best pay-per-view.
Not really. I think we like it, and obviously I've got another little bit of merch here as well. Another Hasbro, which is the Ultimate Warrior with the old press slam action. And this is prime time for, it's your prime time for your Hasbros.
Yeah.
This is 1990 coming into 91 WWF.
Well, pretty much everyone on there, apart from maybe Bad News Brown on the VHS sleeve and Dino Bravo, all the wrestlers had a Hasbro.
Yep. Texas Tornado. They all had Hasbros. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, Dusty. He's the White Rabbit, isn't he? That one.
Yeah, he's an elusive one.
Yeah. But yeah, they've all got Hasbros. They're all, it's all good stuff. I mean, apart from the Rick Rude Hasbro, I'm never a fan of that one.
No, we've covered that before, haven't we? It was a bit cheap and crappy, and they used the same thing for the Ric Flair.
For Ric Flair and possibly for 1-2-3 Kid.
Yes, and yes, 1-2-3 Kid. That's another elusive figure. The 1-2-3 Kid Hasbro.
So yeah, it's like I said, it's not a great show. It's not, you know, it does bring back a lot of nostalgia and a lot of good memories from like when you did watch it and stuff. There are way better pay-per-views around it. You know, like even the Survivor Series, you know, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, all around that time were much better stuff. But it's good nostalgia and it's good fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it just for watching it back and that. The highlights for me were obviously Bobby the Brain Heenan, Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude. I think even though we complain that there's a lot of promos, I think the high points of it were probably some of the promos.
Yeah, some good promos. I mean, there were too many promos on this show.
There were too many. But like I say, the Macho Man promo was gold. Dusty Rhodes was really good. Jake the Snakes was really good. Perfects were great. Rick Rude's were good stuff. You know, the Ultimate Warriors was a really good one. Even the Hulk Hogan final one with the surfboard sharks, and that was because he then does the motorbike backwards thing where you know.
Yeah, he makes a valid point, like that he wants to be #1 contender and stuff. So it does have a bit of
a point to it.
Yeah, it has a point to it.
So yeah, no, it was overall it was pretty good. You know, highlights and match wise was Ravishing Rick Rude and Warrior match was pretty good. Bad News Brown and the Snake. You know, not bad overall. Not not the greatest, but not bad overall for its time.
Yeah.
And promos were the high point, I would say, even though there was too many.
You got any thank yous or shout outs for us?
Just thank you to everyone that I mean, like I say, I still can't get over our last episode, how many views we've got compared to the rest of them, and it's, you know, we're hoping that this is going to be the way forward, that every episode's going to get that, you know. I think it might be likely to the places where we've posted it, you know, and people that are watching it, but I would really love it if we could get more subs on YouTube, because as you know, I mean, we love it that people download our stuff on Apple iTunes podcasts and stuff like that, and Spotify and Podbean and Deezer and all these places, but YouTube is the place where, you know, we've got a visual podcast. You can see when we bring out little figures, and when Jordan's got, you know, we try and bring stuff out every episode, and the thing with YouTube is, you know, you can't really get that exposure, but we need subscribers. So, you know, if you like our content and you like what we're doing, just subscribe. Give us a like and a subscribe. Just subscribe to the channel. That'd be great.
Or a comment, anything.
Or a comment, you know, yeah, that engagement, because we will be engaging with. We try and engage with people on Twitter at Grapple Pops on Twitter, and we will engage with you on YouTube as well. If you comment in the comments, we will engage with you and chat, and we love that engagement, and it helps to boost the channel as well. So we really appreciate everybody that watches and listens, but we'd really love it if you could bang us a subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, bro. We're just going to keep, you know, we're going to keep doing it.
Just quickly, thank you to treeoflifeframing.com for the hoodies. You know, we love them. Get onto them. They'll frame anything. Just like, I'm not even going to say it. I wanted to say it, but I'm still not going to say it.
In another episode. That's like an in joke with us.
That's another episode.
That's another episode.
Also, thank you to @Tyrant Tales on Twitter and Instagram. This for the excellent cartoon of Chris and me. We will show it. We will stick it up probably on Twitter or something this like in the next couple of days. But yeah, this was incredible. When we saw this, we only got it today, and unbelievable. Really good work.
It's great stuff, man. Like to have someone that's listened to the podcast and that draw a cartoon character, and especially how good he is as well, man. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic talent. And to have your own.
Forgot to mention Coyote Peterson's #1 comic artist, Tyrant Tales.
Tyrant
At
Tales.
Tyrant Tales, yeah, Tales as in a rat's tail. It is about the main comic strip is about a rat who has decided to go rogue and go crazy. So, it's weird and fun, and everyone check it out.
And it
Anyone
ties in with the Harlem sewer rat of
Harlem
Bad News Brown.
Story, yeah, I should
You
have done
know,
it earlier. I didn't think, but we should have done it a little bit earlier with the Harlem Sewer Rat.
shit, we should have, man. But Tyrant Tales, man, honestly, thank you so much, man. The pictures that you've drawn of us, we will have new merchandise of myself and Jordan's cartoon characters on T-shirts very soon.
And yeah, that's that's it for us, isn't it, for today? Yeah. We haven't decided what we're going to watch next. We haven't got that far. We never do for some reason. But again, we're not organised in that way. We like to just watch wrestling. That's all it is.
We love to. I mean, I would like to. It probably won't be a WWF show because we like to alternate it. So it will probably be a WCW show or an ECW show, which we've spoken about doing an ECW show. But yeah, it will be within the next week. We like to bang at least one out a week. And we're just going to keep doing it. Thank you to everybody who's listening on all the podcast forums, on YouTube, watching the video podcast. And yeah, thanks, Jordan, again, mate. Every week. Just love it, man.
I'm gonna like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Please subscribe. We want to get those subscriptions up because when the lockdown is fully over, as I keep saying, myself and Jordan will be going to wrestling shows. It won't just be us in little boxes. You will be able to see us out and about. And we do have a lot of wrestling shows around the area where we live. So we will be going, we will be going to them, and you will see us out and about wearing the hoodies, wearing the T-shirts, meeting wrestlers, talking to wrestlers. So please give us a subscribe so then we can get more viewers when we do that kind of stuff. But yeah, thanks to everybody for joining us. This has been SummerSlam 1990 WWF. I have been Chris Dredd. And Jordan has been JB. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you on our next video.
Thank you guys. Stay safe.
Peace.